Yeah, I mean, I'll start with something that's not basketball since it just hit all of us. The news on what Matt Ishbia has done for our university, for our program, for me in particular, is about as humbling and as sort of tear jerking as anything that's happened to me. I know there's a press conference tomorrow, and I'm going to go over a lot of stuff then, but with the release early, I can only say that I can't thank him enough. I think some people, um, when things are going bad, and I look at some things I've done here over the last couple of years to donate some things and do some things, because when things are going bad is when people really need you, and not when things are going good. I get phone calls from Mateen all the time when we lose. I never get anything when we win. And I think, Matt looked at a time when, universities are all struggling. Our athletic department is struggling, and our country's struggling. And he just came through when times are toughest. And be honest with you, that's. I'm just going to need a little time. I'm going to use tonight to really get my thoughts together, because what he's done is so incredible that right now words can't express it. As far as our team goes, we're coming off a week that no doubt we needed a day off yesterday. The 3 games in 5 or 6 days, and staying on the road there and kind of practicing but not practicing has been difficult. Now we got a few home games where at least we can practice and be here. There's no denying that it's been a tough stretch for us, but I thought our effort in the last 2 games has improved. I thought our play has improved. Our shooting has gotten better, but not markedly better, and I think that'll be the last step that could make the difference in winning some of these games and not. As far as Nebraska goes, there's only been 3 teams so far that have come back off COVID. We were one, Penn State was one, and now Nebraska is the 3rd one, and Michigan will have to do it, although they don't have any players that have it. They've still had some time away. And it is difficult. Fred and I talked, during the time when they went down, and but we were able to grind out a win at their place. That was almost a month ago. Had a great game from Aaron Henry, 27 points. We'll need to get help from others. I think Josh is in a lot better place right now as far as, it took some time to get him back. Then unfortunately, he got back and he was playing pretty well, and then the COVID thing hit him. And I think he's practiced 3 times full since January 7th. And so we have to still get him some rest every now and then, which we're going to do today. He'll be able to practice full go tomorrow and play Saturday. But Nebraska has a couple guys that did give us problems. Teddy Allen had 23, and that McGowan's kid had 20, and both guys, Allen can shoot the ball from anywhere. He's got an awkward shot, and it just goes in. He's a very, very kind of a European-type player. He's got the step-arounds. He's got the long threes. Very effective. And McGowan, I think, is one of the better guards in our league. He's quick. He can shoot it. He shot pretty well in our game. But he's lethal on their fast break. He's kind of like a one-man fast break, and he pushes it. So hopefully today we'll have a good practice. Tomorrow, everybody's spirits are up, even though we're disappointed. I think the news of Matt will bring a little life to our team, and we're ready to go.
Go first with questions from Matt Sharp.
Tom, I assume as far as you know at this point on Thursday, everything's good to go for Saturday with Nebraska and where they're at?
That's a good point, Matt. Yeah, I'm 99% sure. You know, like I said, I've talked to Fred before. I know they've been practicing. I think they had so many people that had it. I don't think, if somebody else gets it, I don't think it would change anything. But that is kind of the question that never gets asked in any press conference over the last. And now we're starting to see more teams, Louisville, this team, and so I guess, like I told, I think some of you, there's so much pressure on these kids. It was the last couple of weeks when we've been on the road and we test day of the game. You know, I see some guys come back to the bus and give it one of these. I made it. And I didn't realize that kind of pressure or strain was on them. And I've said this to, I think I've said it nationally. I don't think it's the COVID they're worried about as much as the 17 days they'll miss. And that's a lot on these kids. But as far as I know, I think we're both raring to go, and I'm sure he's excited to get back on the court also.
And I want to ask you too about, obviously, you know where your record's at now, as competitive as these guys are. How do you balance all the good things you saw from the other night with also understanding you didn't quite get over the hump? Still trying to build on that without being down about a 4-game losing streak or anything.
Yeah, I think it's a fair question because it doesn't do any good to play better. Sooner or later, you got to win games, and that's kind of exactly how I said it to the team in the locker room after. We did some good things. We still missed some good shots. We still missed a couple of good passes. We missed some free throws from guys that don't normally miss them. It doesn't take much, and you win that game. But you got to find a way to win a game. And I think that is, the bottom line of this whole thing. I think our players understand that. I think they know what they've been through. I mean, we could have been very, very good and lost those 3 road games. Very good and lost those 3 road games. So I think they understand who we're playing and what we're doing. But I also think maybe they don't understand that these little things and making a wide open shot or free throw or free throw cutout cost us a little bit in Iowa, of course, a lot against Purdue. Those things matter, and those are the little things that every coach always says, the little things matter. So we're working on that.
Go next to Lindsey Huddleston.
Hey, Tom, you kind of alluded to it when you said you're going to do some reflection later on based on tomorrow's huge announcement. Congratulations on that. Just curious, during this tough stretch, is there any way you can have even a greater appreciation for your national championship, greater appreciation for your Big Ten championship now that you kind of have a moment to reflect back and look at it a little differently now with what's happening right now?
No, I don't yet. That's a great question. And I think I will when I really reflect back, at the end of the year. I mean, right now I don't think we're that far away. And that sounds crazy. We've had some bad games. We've played bad. But, you look at last night. I mean, I never seen so many teams lose. I watched Villanova lose to a team that wasn't very good. I watched Georgetown beat Creighton, and Georgetown hadn't won many games. I just saw so many different games. I mean, it's just the way it is right now. So I couldn't tell you what it's going to take to get in the tournament, what it's going to take to win the Big Ten. I just think there's a lot of unknowns, and I do appreciate, funny because I talked to Mateen this morning. He called, and I appreciate what it takes to win and how much leadership and good point guard play, and you got to make shots. You can't make the little things do matter. I think that's what I reflected back on. I reflected back on the war game. We did it last week. We went at it 3 times a day. We rebounded better, It'd be easy for someone to say, well, why didn't you do it all year? And I gave you the millions of reasons why we don't. But I think, Lindsey, my real reflection will come when the year's over. But I had enough guys that call me, former players. This is when hopefully our family is at its best. We got a guy that's giving an amount of money that, hell, I told him, instead of giving it here, you could buy the whole UP with that, and, including the bridge, I think. But it gives me great pride to know that people think of you and think of your program and think of what you do as a university that has impacted their lives enough to do something like that. And as I said, Mateen, a lot of guys are calling and texting, and it just makes me realize there's a way that it's got to be done. Maybe we weren't able to do all of that this year, and it affected us a little bit more because of a lot of things. But we're still in a position right now where most of our guys have had it. We're hoping there's not a round two for them. We're hoping we can start moving forward. We're hoping that I coach a little better and they play a little better, and between all of us, we kind of grow, and that's what's happened. It was Miles that sent me a text the other night that said that, Coach, we were 11-9 my first year, we won 8 out of 10 or whatever we did, and that's kind of the mentality that we're trying to look at moving forward.
Well, next, Kyle Austin. Couple of things. First, real quick, do you expect Gabe to be available on Saturday?
He's supposed to work out a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow, and Sunday or Saturday is his first day of being able to play. But I really don't know. I tried to learn from Josh's and Marty's, and the one thing I learned is being in the weight room riding a bike as you have those 3-4 days to move forward. I'm not sure it's as good idea as maybe running sprints, because there's something about game situation. Like, I think Josh is in decent shape cardiovascularly, but I think his legs aren't there with him yet. And the only way you get your legs there is that stop and go action. So we're going to try to do a little better job with Gabe as far as that goes. I know he's dying to play. It'll be interesting to see what he does today, just moving around, maybe in the gym alongside of us, and if he can do anything tomorrow as far as, they give you those 2-3 days to work back. I'd probably know more by then.
And then I want to follow up, too, if I could, on something you said after Iowa, just about kind of how hard you pushed these guys this year, and how difficult has that been for you to know how to coach guys, and how much have you had to kind of change your approach in coaching these guys under these circumstances?
Well, I think it's the biggest question that a lot of coaches around the country are asking themselves and asking each other. I'd probably talked to more coaches this year than ever. I probably had more meetings with players than ever. But nobody looks at it that way, like a player. They don't realize the things. When I said how long it had been since we played the war game, when we started practice, it was 6 months. We usually play it all summer. And I think you don't realize it till you go through it. But, when I say push them, they got to push themselves too. But holding people accountable. There's no reason we lose a game because of a free throw cutout. That just can't happen, and that's on me. And then we've had a couple other games where we've made those kind of mistakes that almost never happen. And we work on it every day before a game. That day of a game, we work on that. So it is a point of emphasis. But, maybe it's not demanded enough. Maybe it's not harped on enough. So I feel good about where I'm at, too, now. I had meetings with players all this whole trip, and I told them, things got to get a little tougher. I think they know it, but you guys probably know this. Those of you that have kids, you have a wife, you have friends. It's a tough time what they're going through, and tougher than even I am aware of at times, and especially at 20. And so every coach is trying to worry about where the kids are mentally. And, now school started back up. I had my first academic meeting today after the couple weeks of the startup, so that you find out where they are and what's going on. They've got so much stuff on their plate that even a jerk like me gets a little compassionate and shows a little empathy. But I think, I said I got to take the gloves back off because we got games to win, and I just got to explain it to them better. So that's why, man, I met with guys on the plane going to Iowa, coming back from Iowa, in Iowa, had meetings that night, the next day, just to try to still help them understand, I know you're going through a difficult time, but there's still only certain ways that you can win games, and that's what we've been doing.
Next, Chris Solari.
Hey, Tom. I wondered, do you have any updates yet on the other games that you guys have that might be rescheduled, or is it kind of
Yeah.
just the limbo of thinking maybe 3 games a week, sometimes possibly 4?
Oh, I'm definitely expecting that. I'm definitely expecting that. But no, we haven't. I talked to KP about it this morning. The problem is you got a team like Michigan right now. I don't think anybody knows when they're coming back, for sure. And so because of that, I mean, we're scheduled to play them twice, so that pushes a lot of things back. They've still got to play. I think it's Iowa. They haven't played yet, or Illinois. Or us. I don't know if Ohio State, I don't think. So they're going to have a lot of games too. I don't know how many they missed out on. I haven't really looked at that. I got enough issues myself, but they're just one team. And then, I think the conference is looking at, we still have so many conference games, and before we start going to 3 and 4 a week, we want to try to see where everybody is. The minute that happens, maybe some other team goes down. That's the hardest part of this whole thing right now. So there's actually been zero, probably because we have scheduled games that are, in a time slot where we came back from Tuesday, we're on the road. Other teams couldn't play like Thursday, or maybe we'd have played a Thursday, Saturday. We play Saturday, then I think we play Tuesday, and then I think we could start funneling some games in there somewhere. But that's up to KP, the Big Ten office. I've already accepted that there might be 4 games a week. There could be back-to-back games. I just don't know.
Is there a chance that the Big Ten tournament gets wiped out? Have you heard anything about the move to Indianapolis? I saw a report today that it's been more or less finalized.
Well, I heard rumors out there looking at that just because of the situation in Chicago, to be honest with you, just because that's one of the states or one of the cities that's been hit hard. I did not know it was finalized. As far as the Big Ten tournament goes, I think there's been national talk on all these tournaments on what happens. And again, that will definitely be out of our hands. I think that'll be conference offices, ADs, presidents. I'm on one committee that we've talked about it, and with the 10 coaches all over the country, and everybody's got some concerns. I mean, why wouldn't you? There's everything we do is to try to keep the fewest amount of people from touching our players, more or less. And then all of a sudden you're in a conference tournament where you're somewhere and there's 14 teams, and in some states you might have some fans there, and so I just don't know what they'll do with it. As of right now, I'm 90% sure they're playing it as of right now. I heard the same rumors as you that they were looking on moving it to Indy. That would make sense if Chicago's beat up a little bit, and under the protocol Indy would have as far as facilities and everything, since they seem to have one of the best in the country, hotels close, different venues to play in, things like that.
Hey, Tom, 2 for you. Just to follow up there, I know a lot of coaches have been asked about this idea of, the potential of some teams opting out, right? If everyone does go along with their conference tournaments, if you're Gonzaga, whatever, who doesn't really need it, not putting yourself at risk. What would be your thought on some teams, if the tournaments are held, some teams who don't need those games, deciding to make individual decisions to opt out?
I mean, we've had a lot of women's programs that already opted out of the season. I think there'll be some men's ones that do opt out and having the season. We've had players opt out from playing in bowl games. Who knows? We could have players opting out for playing in NCAA tournament games. It's a crazy time, Brendan, and I don't know what'll happen there. I would hate to play a tournament where everybody wasn't involved. I would, but I do understand. You gave maybe the best example of all. You know, would you be the number one overall seed if they remain like they are? Go to Vegas, playing a tournament where there's 3 or 4 other tournaments going on, and just being in Vegas alone is no insult to the Vegas people, but a little shakier by the way that everybody moves around there. So I wouldn't blame a team. I just, you know, I'm hoping that we'll all do what's right. You know, I think we have TV partners that, you know, have had it tough. Everybody's had it tough. So how do you make it fair for everybody? And boy, that's a decision I couldn't make right now. But if I was one of those teams, and you could look at it the other way. If you're one of the teams like we are right now, if you might need the tournament to fight your way into it. But I would just hope we did what was best for basketball. Not Michigan State, not Gonzaga. What is best for basketball? And if one of those is you have a choice, and everybody understands that, then I think that's what's best, you know. But it would be hard if we had a tournament and 2 or 3 of our best teams weren't in it. That seems like it would be a difficult thing too. But if that's what they decide to do, I'd like to play as many games as I could play within the safety and protocol that we have in our league and our university. And that means I'd love to play in the Big Ten tournament. I'd love to play every Big Ten game we can. Beginning of the year, there were guys on the committee I was on that predicted we'd get 20 games in. You know, right now, if we just schedule the games we've gotten, we'd get 23 in. If we get to reschedule some of those games, it might be 24. If they don't, 20 might be a number, you know. I don't really know. I just like to play as many as we can as long as the players are as safe as they could be, which to me still means playing here is safer than being out on the streets.
There's a couple more questions in the queue. We'll go first to Larry Bass.
Hey, Tom, now maybe premature for this, but is there Big Ten talk of like let's reduce the number of games that we're going to have everybody play because getting all the scheduled games is looking unlikely?
There hasn't been that I know of. I think, like I said, I think what you'd see instead, I think you'd see 3 and 4 games a week, you know, and or you might even see a back-to-back game, you know, like if you're playing at Rutgers and you played them twice and it was the first time, you know, maybe you and Rutgers decide, hey, we'll play both games there, one right after another, and then fly home, you know, or maybe if it was somebody here that we haven't played yet, we play both games here and then you fly home. I mean, I've heard all those kind of thoughts. I think everybody's trying to do what's best, but I give the basketball groups credit. I think they agree that everybody's trying to get as many games in as we can. Don't worry about what's fair and unfair because you're not going to win that battle. It's, you know, we just played 6 out of 9 on the road. We just played 3 games in 6 days on the road coming off COVID. Is that fair? No, it's not. If it was unhealthy for the players, then I think we got to do something about it. But as of right now, we don't think it's unhealthy. It's not as conducive for everybody. But I think that stuff's going to happen there. I really do. And I don't think they're going to try to cut that schedule back yet. But I'd say in the next 2 weeks, if another team or two goes down, a whole team, there's going to be issues for sure where they're going to have to make some tough decisions.
Quick follow-up and loaded question. How are you holding up with everything that's going on?
Well, you know, Matt Ishbia made my day better, but I'm good. I really am. I don't say that. You know, I'm disappointed in where we're at. I understand some of the reasons why we're at. Some of the reasons I don't understand are things I got to take responsibility for. And, you know, in this league, you don't get to get healthy very often, you know, and that's the problem. I mean, if you're not playing really well, you're probably not winning. And I've watched some of these other conferences, and I'm not happy with some of our losses, but we've had less losses against teams that maybe we should have beat than a lot of teams have right now. And it's just the nature of the beast. It's keeping these kids on an even keel the best you can. It's pushing them, but understanding you can only push so far. It's not pampering them because it's a sport that takes it. And realizing the Big Ten, for all of you, there's just no conference even close. Now that sounds arrogant and egotistical, but I think it's the truth. I think it's the best conference, and it's the best conference because we do have top to bottom. We not only have a lot at the top, but we have good teams at the bottom too.
We'll go next to Jack Edwards.
Tom, back to Matt for a minute. When you have a walk-on, never walked away and never learned the meaning of can't, what's the lesson? What do you tell your players about a team approach to life?
I was thinking of telling Matt that if he would have made that layup on the last shot of the championship game, maybe he would have had a future in basketball and he wouldn't have made half the money that he's making as an entrepreneur in business. But, I think it is. It's you get to live your dream. I mean, Matt was a very motivated individual. It's funny because his last year, he sat right next to me on the bench because I think he was looking at getting into coaching, and I, like Jack Hoiberg, I enjoyed his perception of what was going on. He had a very good feel for things, so he kind of sat right next to me for a lot of those games, and I said, man, it's a good thing he didn't go into coaching because he's done very well for himself. And I really appreciate the way he's taken care of a lot of our former players and some football players. I think he appreciates where he was at, where he's going. Some of that money going into future endeavors for athletes here is really not only much needed, but over needed. Guys that aren't pro basketball or football or hockey or baseball players, or ladies that aren't pro basketball or volleyball players. This is going to give them a center and a chance to get into business world that's been so important to Matt and his dad. His dad's got to be proud as hell. I mean, I remember often his dad and my dad being at Final Fours during those 2 years, and spent a lot of time talking, and I think his dad will be proud because Matt did something. He took a business and he took it to another level, and that would make if I'm Jeff, I'd be very proud of that.
We have one more, we'll wrap it up with questions from Roger Dogman.
Hey Tom, this is a bit of a cliche maybe, but they say that teamwork makes the dream work. And Mel was telling us yesterday that you were very instrumental in bringing Keon Coleman or having Keon Coleman sign with the football program. And so what do you envision for him when it comes to your program, and what have those conversations been like with Mel?
Well, first of all, I think that because I've been here a long time, Matt gives me credit on what I did for his business. I have trouble figuring out everything his business contains, and then Mel gives me credit because, last summer when they started recruiting him, or even earlier than that, he had an interest in basketball, so I called and we got some film and we did some checking up on him, and he's kind of a cool kid that he just keeps talking, and he kept calling all the time, and sure enough, I knew we were getting back in the hunt with him because I thought we were out of it, and I walked out of my shoot around at Iowa, and I look at my phone, and Keon Coleman's had texted me, so I read the text, I gave him a buzz, and he told me that he really felt like he was thinking of coming here the next day, and so I talked to Mel, and that was pretty exciting, and as far as his basketball, I said a lot of people talk about people playing both. We've done it here at Michigan State. We did it with Nick Saban. We did it with Smith. We did it with D'Antonio. We've done it here, and who knows what that'll bring for Keon, but what I know Mel for sure gave him the opportunity, and I know I sure gave him the opportunity that he will be able to try that if that's what he wants to do. As we know, very few kids are capable because everything's gotten to be such individual work now with each sport. But I love two-sport guys. I've loved two-sport guys since I was one myself in a very small school. But I've always appreciated guys that played football. I think it's still a tougher sport that when you got one of those kind of guys around, I think it benefits you. So hopefully Keon will finish out this year, get here, and let Mel beat him up a little bit and then send him over to me for some rehab.
Thank you.
Coach, that's everything we have.
All right, thanks, guys.